This is the new Typock Samara 75mm f1.4, a relatively small and compact mid-telephoto portrait lens, but is it worthy of going on a Leica camera? Check it out. So Typock have sent me this lens, like they've sent their other lenses in exchange for this review. They don't have any say over anything that I'm doing, but I have kept all of the other lenses from Typock, so I'm assuming that's going to be the deal from this as well. But wanted to let you know in case you feel like that is a bias, but I'm going to give you my full and honest thoughts here. Now, 75mm is a bit of an odd one in the Leica system. And even if you look through the rangefinder here, you're going to see a 50mm field of view and then a slightly smaller one that is what the 75mm ends up being for you. And Leica has made 75 Summoluxes in the past. Voigtlander now has a 75 1.5. But currently, I believe the 75 really is kind of the oddball in the mid-telephoto range for Leica. They definitely don't make a Summolux currently. And to be honest, when I was using my M10s, my M240s as my primary cameras, it always felt like that was like the hole in my bag. I was so used to shooting with an 85 1.4 that I always just felt like I was missing out on that kind of like mid-telephoto, but super fast lens. Especially for weddings. That was really, really great for portraits. It was really, really great for documentary work, so speeches, things like that. And while I did have a 90mm Summicron, I always felt like I was wishing it was faster, especially in a lot of those lower light environments where I could get a shallower depth of field, but also bring in an entire more stop of light. And honestly, that's where this thing comes into play. So right off the bat, this thing is not really large, but not exactly small for the Leica system either. But if you were going to tell me that there was a f1.4 75mm focal length for the Leica M system, I think I would actually be thinking the lens would be slightly bigger. So I will say that for my expectations, it was smaller than I was anticipating, but it's not like it's going to be like a little pancake lens or anything. Obviously, because you want something like this to be high quality, and making it f1.4 is obviously going to increase the size a little. Now I have a few accessories on my Leica M11 here. First of which being this little thumb grip that kind of works as an old film advanced lever would. That, as well as this base plate that also has the Arca Swiss thing and a small grip here. I can definitely say that I've used this without either of those things and it's still fine. And a lot of times I'm using this without the base plate necessarily, but on like a longer shoot day, and if I was going to use this lens in particular a little bit more, I will say that having those extra things is a little bit nicer. Same thing if you're shooting with just another heavier lens or another telephoto lens of some sort, or even just like a Noctilux or something. Those lenses are just bigger, and having the extra support can be very, very useful. Now you can see that the barrel extends as we go in and out here, and it's not that big of a deal, and it's not really that massive of a change. But just something to note, it's not like internally focusing or anything. The barrel does just move in and out. In addition to that, we're obviously at 1.4, goes down to f16. And if you really wanted to, you can actually switch it to declicked. That's going to be if someone wants to adapt this and do video, because I find it no other reason to do that in photography, but for video, if you want it to be declicked, definitely an option. Now, another little thing to note that is similar to the other Samara lenses that I've reviewed as well, that you get a nice little detent at 0.7 meters, and then you can continue on to 0.6 meters. So it's not that huge of a difference for just a tiny bit, but I will say that I've used other telephoto portrait lenses that only go down to 1 meter. So having that extra distance, even if you want to get just a tiny bit closer, then the rangefinder will focus and use a Visiflex or the back of the screen or something, is still definitely helpful. It also has the depth of field indicator here like the other ones do, but unless you're shooting even at f16, you're not really going to be zone focusing with this lens that much. Now, that's all good and great. Specs are fun, and knowing the feel of the lens is definitely really helpful for someone like me, but how it performs is even more important. So let's check out some images and I will give you kind of my final thoughts on all this stuff. had this lens for probably about 2 months now at the time of this video coming out. So obviously you're seeing a bunch of photos from back in December when I first got it. But those are really, really good opportunities for me to check out the bokeh and see how much the separation looks like. And I will say that yes, you're getting some cat's eye. Everything's not always like perfectly round in all aspects. And one of the things that I don't always remember to mention in these videos is there are like a ton of aperture blades here. So if you do want to stop down and use this for portraits at f2.8 or something, you're gonna get very, very round, very, very nice, pleasing bokeh. Unlike some of my other lenses, like even my 50 Summilux, when I stop down to 2.8 or 5.6, it's very, very jagged. And so definitely another bonus of this lens. But if I was gonna be honest, and it's a weird comparison because there aren't just a lot of 75mm lenses out there. But let's say, for the sake of just imagining, that Leica decided to announce a 75 Summilux. And even if it was $5,000 and was just everything that I would be hoping to continue down the line with what Leica does, and this is the lens that they came out with, obviously repackaged to look Leica-y and all those kind of things, but the performance was the same, I don't feel like I would be let down. So that, I feel like, says a lot about how well I think this lens performs, both in terms of overall sharpness, in terms of chromatic aberration performance, in terms of the bokeh, things like that. I think it's just a really, really, really good lens. A lens that is definitely going to go in my bag, especially for weddings and portrait kind of stuff, when I'm especially using the M system to be a little bit more discreet. And honestly, like, it's a weird category. I keep saying that over and over about this lens and 75mm focal lengths, but that's where I really appreciate having a really well-made lens and well-performing, especially because when I was, again, using the M's as my primary system, it was the biggest thing that I was most disappointed in and felt like it was the biggest hole in my bag. And now adding this to the bag makes that not a problem at all. So thanks so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts about this thing in the comments down below. If you want to check out more of my Leica videos, you can check those out up here. Check out more Type Hawk videos up here, and I will see you in one of those.